Okay. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I had a nice day. My day started earlier because I'm a little bit off schedule. But I was looking at some of my videos and I was reminded of a book that I read or that was read to me when I was very young. And I don't know, I'm not going to say the name, or I don't know if I should say the name. It's got a copyright. I guess I could say the name. It's about being bought back, being made once and bought back. I have the link in the description of the book. I was surprised to find it. I was surprised to find it. It has the first copyright was in 1967 or something like that. But I think I may have seen it before that date, if I'm not mistaken. At any rate, it's about a child, a boy. He likes to hang around the seashore, watch the boats and everything, and he wanted to make a boat. So I made a boat, sailboat. Made it with his own hands, and then he lost it. He lost the boat. He was out playing with it, and then lost it, lost track of it, and he went to look for it, and he couldn't find it, and sailed away. So later, he finds the boat, his boat, the boat that he made in a store, a secondhand store, and then he has to buy his own boat back because apparently someone found it and sold it to him. I mean, sold it to the store owner, and so the store owner agreed to sell it to him for the same price that he paid for it. So he bought it back, the boat that he made, and it's an illustration of how we have been bought back. We have been made and we have been bought back because we were lost in sin. But it was a story that had a real effect on me as far as being able to understand the message of salvation as a child. So, I would highly recommend the book. It cost $7. I just bought it. I just downloaded it. You can download it or get a hard copy, I guess. But it was pretty nice. I would I would like to show it, but since it's got a copyright, I don't know if I can do that. I don't want to get in trouble for doing that. So it's very profound, very meaningful to me. The theme of the story, where were made to exist, and we got lost because of sin. We got lost. Can't hear me. Well, we got lost because of sin, and God bought us back. They should be able to hear me. I'm right up to the mic, so I don't know. But anyway, it's easy to understand. It would be a good child. I mean, if you wanted to buy for a kid or something, it'd be a good storybook to buy. Because I remember it had a lasting effect on me. What do we got? I got somebody here. I don't know if Butch, can you can you say something or okay? It's just a headset. I don't know who Butch Cassidy is. Um, uh, see, I don't know if I can add you or not. I suppose. Hello, Butch. Are you there? Could you hear? He doesn't want to say anything, I guess. Oh, that's you.
Yeah, there we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sorry about that. Yeah, my my mic. I have to always it's fickle, so I always have to mess with it to make sure it's on the right audio output. My bad.
That's good. I can hear you.
That's good.
Turn turn up the volume a little bit. I can hear you. Okay.
All right, hold up. Yeah, I got my mic's like super weird. I have to like pull it close to my face in order for anyone to hear me.
Yeah, I was transported way back in time by with this book that I found. I found a book that I read as a child, like 50 years ago,
Oh, cool.
and it's pretty neat. It's got artwork and everything, but I can't really. I don't think I can show the artwork. It's got a copyright on it.
Yeah. You can sell parts of it. You can't just show the whole thing though. That's how
Yeah,
you get around that.
it's
You can
well,
show
it's
parts, but you can't show the whole thing.
yeah, but parts of it are. It's not very. It's not a long book. It's just like a leaflet kind of book where you
Hmm.
has like a plan of salvation for kids. And
Oh, that's cool.
the thing with kids now, they're all uptight about kids,
Yeah,
and,
there are.
and
It
my
happens
videos are
too.
not supposed to be for kids.
That's what I did on my videos too. Like I did the make sure it's on. Even though it's appropriate for kids, kids can watch it. I
Right,
prefer it not because it's out of context. They really should have their parent go by and explain it to
right,
them. It's not
and
my responsibility to teach them about
and
God.
I had the cartoon videos. Remember, I don't know if you've seen my cartoon videos. I took
No,
them
not
down.
yet. No.
I had to take them down because just the cartoon is you know associated with kids, and I get all kind of ads for kids and toys and
Yeah,
everything because
that's terrible.
whenever I put the video on, there's a whole bunch of ads for kids toys and stuff,
Yeah, that's not good.
or kids videos basically is what it is. But
Yeah,
anyway, so
kids
I had
cartoon.
to take them down too because it's apparently it's going to be a serious thing though.
Well, yeah. It's because of the whole you don't want to sell things to kids and make sure that you're putting kids in vulnerable positions, even though because
Yeah,
it's that whole thing with YouTube Kids. Because
which
I don't even have my kids go on YouTube Kids anymore because of it.
which I agree wholeheartedly, and they need they need to stop teaching evolution to kids. That's what I. That to me, that's really bad.
Yeah, I think so. They just need it. I mean, there's other ways and forms of evolution. You can explain the Bible through evolution if you really wanted to. It's just a weird process. You gotta like jump through holes and hoops
Yeah,
and go through outside sources, which isn't that bad. I mean, I think it's better to do that because then it connects it with the rest of the world. It's not just singular to just one book. Then now you're talking about the rest of the world, and it's in the whole involvement. Because not, I think that's especially when you tie it in with uh, cosmicology, whatever the hell it's called.
cosmology.
Yeah, the study of the stars and all that, the signs and wonders. Hey, Wildheart.
Yeah,
Wildheart, you're famous because I said your name on the internet now.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know if he's mad at me because I I put him in timeout one time because he said something on. I think it was on Jill's channel or something. But I don't know if he's mad at me or not.
Probably not. Wildheart seems is a pretty cool
Yeah,
guy.
because I haven't seen him too much lately. Of course, I haven't been around too much either. But
Guys, did you hear the whole thing with Praise and Skylar and all that nonsense?
it was praising who?
Skylar?
No.
Oh man, it was terrible. Skylar, like completely. I'm gonna use my own opinion and thoughts, but because that's what I feel like how it was. I think Skylar, possibly Dr. Joss, possibly not even Skylar or Dr. Well, both of them in cahoots together. So possibly both of them decided to uh, talk about Praise about having him on a channel to do a debate about slavery. And Praise, I think they told him in advance for this for weeks. So Praise was actually putting up a new argument for it, I guess if you want to say, and he was really happy about it. And then they have him come on, and then they pretty much throw him backstage on mute, and then tell him, yeah, because of your actions, how you did to Jay Pasek, whatever his last name, I can't pronounce, the Duckling guy. Um, we don't want you to have associated on our show because your actions and your outbursts during an emotional and challenging time for Praise. It was going back to that whole death threat to Jay and all that because of the situation that went down. And Skylar decided to present that to everyone watching live, and then pretty much just have like a carry moment where they just belittle and berate poor Praise and have him backstage, and they didn't even like have him on for a debate or to talk. They just brought him there to pretty much uh, throw tomatoes at him in the public eye and say you're a piece of shit, blah blah blah. We're not gonna have you on the stage, without actually calling him a piece of shit, but thoughts implied. And it's like, no, guys, you guys were in the wrong for that one because two wrongs don't make a right. It should have been done in private. It shouldn't have been done online with a bunch of people who don't know the context or anything with it because if that's all the important thing would be the context, and they didn't know the context. It was all
Yeah.
just a misunderstanding, and it was in a heat of moment of anger, and that's all it ever was. And they're trying to make Praise to be in Christianity to be this. Oh, look at how these apologetics are. Blah blah blah. They can If you're acting like this all the time, and again, they take one situation, they blow it up and act like Praise is like this all the time when he gets angry.
Yeah.
And it was, and it's like, no, you just don't do that. And it became a big rabbit hole, and I called them out on it. Like, I agree with their methods. Yeah, they should call out Praise. That's unacceptable behavior on Praise's part. I understand that, and I agree with that. But doing another wrong to Praise doesn't make it right. The ends don't justify the means. And it was just a sad thing. I wish they would have handled it a little better, maybe in private first, because you can't record conversations nowadays online. I think that would have been better than just
Yeah.
humiliate them like that and then throw them out. But to each their own. They're probably got their own little backlash. Probably not, but whatever.
Yeah. I didn't hear. I don't know too much about what happened or anything. In fact, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. So, but it doesn't sound very good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll all blow under the wind. It's just drama for views, clicks and
Oh,
donates and all
they'll
that crap.
they'll rub it in. If you do something wrong, they'll pick on you, rub it in, and they'll remember it forever and stuff.
Yeah. Remember that one time you said the F word? Christians do. Oh, you cuss all the time, this one guy. I'm sorry. I've been cussing for years. It's hard
Of
for me
course,
not to cuss.
they do that with G-Man all the time too. Bring up his whole history and everything.
No, no, I can agree with Wildheart. Like when he said it was keep reading the Bible till you find an excuse. Because Prager did use righteous indignation or whatever it's called for his anger, which again isn't right as well. Like that's only reserved for God. It's not reserved for you.
Yeah,
But
I can hardly hear you. I hope that I'm not blaring and in your
oh man, if it is, then I'll just have to like just
yeah,
eat my mic up like that, and then it should be fine.
because I have a tendency to eat the mic to
No,
get
I
all
think I
the
think it's just this shitty headset that I got. I'm probably gonna have to get another one and just save this one for when I'm
It
on car
record
rides or something.
it records all the whistles when I talk. I talk with a whistle like an old person or somebody, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know how to. Like, I can hear you scraping right now. I don't know how to make my headset loud. It says I'm getting pretty good signal on the audio thing, but I think the
Well,
mic just
it sounds
sucks.
better now.
All right, that's good. Yeah, I was low yesterday. What else? But yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, I was gonna say me and Richard were talking about Genesis, and I thought this is what it was in reference to was Genesis. So I was like, oh, cool, we're actually discussing this. So I didn't know what it was about. So you said you found this book that's talking about this, right?
The the Genesis.
I thought that's what the brought back, made, and remade
Oh, the
was
bought
about.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the bought back is bought back by the blood of Jesus. We're made once, and then we're remade by the Spirit of God.
Yeah, that new birth, reborn Christian.
Yeah,
Now,
because it in the storybook, the boy makes a boat. It gets lost, and then he sees it in the store. Somebody found it and sold it to the store, and he has to buy it back. So not only did he make it, he has rights to the boat because he made the boat,
oh,
and then
sorry.
he has rights because he bought it back. And that's the same thing with God. Our relationship with God is that he made us. We got lost into sin, and he bought us back. So now he owns us. He owns everybody.
Well, that's only if we keep within his price range. I mean, we can give us back if we're not going to be a good product, if you know what I'm saying. Because the price we pay is his blood, and if we keep wasting that blood, pretty soon there's going to be no more blood to cover our sins. If someone's in the faith and keeps living in sin, so to speak. If you're gonna keep living in sin without repentance, then you're wasting spilled blood, and then by the time the day of the Lord comes, there's gonna be no blood to cover you. And I think that's an important thing because there are some people who just go by faith alone and not deeds. There's a quote that says, "Show me your faith without deeds, and I'll show you my faith with my deeds." And I think that speaks
Yeah,
volumes
I just
to
did a
to the
video on
world.
that. Hello, Mitchell. How you doing? I just did a video on that on salvation through sanctification.
I actually watched
But
that the other day.
yeah, and
Yeah, it's
so
a good video.
we have to be washed by the Spirit, cleansed by the Spirit, and made alive by the Spirit.
Yeah, I don't want to point out YouTube names, but there's someone on here who has that mentality, which by faith alone, and I'm trying to explain to them like, no, you
Well,
gotta.
I think it's more than one person. I think a lot of people believe. Well, you know, not just on YouTube, but even elsewhere, they believe that you're a Christian, so anything goes. You know, it doesn't matter
Yeah,
what you
you're.
do.
I'm vetted. God's got me covered. I can do what I want. It's like a free pass. No, it's not a free pass to do whatever you want.
You're
And it's
faded away again.
oh, it does that. It's I don't know.
It does
Sorry,
that anyways, but
it doesn't like me. It's a bully.
yeah. But yeah, this was like you know meant a lot to me when I was a kid. The little book. I mean, over through the years, I remember the artwork in the book. I remember the pictures, and then to see it again, it's like you know, it's like a trip. You know, trip back into time. It's pretty neat. I mean,
That is, yeah, especially when you find old memories. You know, you get those nostalgia feels, and then those are just simply the best.
yeah,
You get the nostalgia.
yeah, because it was all the way back when I was a kid. And it meant a lot to me. So, but the link is in the description. You can at least we can look at the book. At least you can see the book. You don't have to
Oh
buy it or
yeah, yeah,
anything.
that's what I was gonna ask you about too. So I didn't know it was in the description.
Yeah, because I can't show it, but I can put the link up there for
The little
somebody to
boy
buy it if they
toy,
want.
or the little boy, the little boat toy stone.
Because I just downloaded it. I just downloaded the thing. It's got pictures and it's got it's a PowerPoint, I guess. I don't know how to
Oh,
use
that's
it,
cool.
but you could use it in PowerPoint, I guess. And
I see. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's for $7. That's pretty awesome.
yeah, $7.
I'm gonna have
And
to
I
save
just
this.
looked on Amazon. It's $35 on Amazon.
Oh, that's not bad. Yeah, if you're getting it for a deal like that. Let me
Yeah,
save this bookmark.
so it's not a bad
Jesus.
price. Yeah,
No, that isn't.
but it'd be good
Uh,
to show like the kids or something,
yeah,
because
definitely.
it's really it it's for children and it makes children connect, to relate to it. You can relate to what the message of salvation is about. But my video is not the children.
Yeah.
My video is for adults.
Because remember, it says in the Bible, it doesn't say teach other people's children. It says teach your own children.
Yeah,
That's an important thing. You can't be trying to teach other people the word. No, that's the responsibility of the parents and the father.
yeah,
Teach his children what's right and what's wrong. The mother too.
yeah, and it's really wrong to teach other people's kids about evolution too. I think
Yeah, I mean,
that's really
especially
bad.
like it's someone's religious, and you get those science teacher types that are just they're like, yeah, we don't want you to there is no
Well,
God and all that
but
nasty stuff.
it's
And
not even so much. It's not even so much in preschool or grade school. It's on the media. It's in high school. It's in college. It's everywhere. It's these,
yeah, you get into biology and they just go over animals. The moment you hit high school, you get into like what chemical class, and then what? Or not chemical class. I'm sorry, chemistry. I
yeah,
never took his chemistry. I never had to, but I should have. Um, and it just gets in it, and then people start losing their faith as soon as they get in around, roughly around their teens or preteens. It all depends. And it's kind of sad when kids like that get out of it. But then again, they're getting introduced to a new lifestyle, and
yeah,
so they're starting to realize, hey, these things aren't the way that are in my household, and I have a choice to live this way. And I see people doing things that are enjoying. That's a problem. Is that most I think most small children see people living in sin, like, and see them happy. And it's like, well, just because you're living in sin, yes, of course, sin feels good, but it's not just because something feels good doesn't mean you should do it. Shouldn't mean you should be living in that lifestyle. Not necessarily that I'm trying to bash anyone or anything like that. People will be their own. And it's just that
well,
in the
yeah,
Lord's eyes, you don't want to be seen as unpure. You want to be as pure as possible.
yeah.
That's the main important thing.
Well,
Your
people have to
purity.
figure it out for themselves, and if they believe what other people say, they'll just go along with the world. But
Mm-hmm.
but if they have some kind of a foundation in the teaching of God's word, they're going to remain faithful. Is and
I get feared. I get scared because I think most Christians are quick to judgment. Like they just go straight to judgment. They forget that they're supposed to judge righteously, which I think they're doing all the time. I think and like I've seen it throughout just on YouTube. People just the first thing they want to jump to is judgment, and it's
yeah,
like
well,
why do you jump to judgment? Why is the first thing you do jump to judgment?
I would go to church with long hair when I was in high school,
Uh
and I would do it to see if people would judge me.
huh.
but
Well, I did
but I
that to
was
Jill the other day. I told him I was a bisexual Christian to see what his reaction would be, and it didn't sound very loveful. I tell you that much. I told him that, and he's like, "You can't do this, blah blah blah. You're not a true Christian, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "That doesn't sound like you have the love of God in your heart when you're saying that, bro." I'm like, you might think you do, but again, if I was a newcomer to faith and I'm coming in and I feel comfortable with this label of bisexual Christian, and yet I'm new to this, and yet you're telling me you can't be a Christian while you're that, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be surrounded by by you or at least around the faith, if that's how everyone in this new faith that I'm supposed to be in is going to treat me this way. If you're just going to be judgmental towards a person, then there's no hope because you're I think you already damned them. Oh, in a sense, not really. I can't say that you really damn them for saying they're not a true Christian. I can understand that, but still, it's like a little bit of damnation on their part because you're saying you can't fit into this Christ club, which is again all nations. So if
Yeah,
there's a nation of gay people and they all believe in God, God's gonna accept them automatically. I mean, that's just you can't get. But then there's gonna be arguments made around that, but it's one
yeah.
of those.
Well,
How are you gonna choose? How are you gonna
it,
be sit there and be the judge?
I understand that people are in different places in life, as I was when I was in high school, and I would go into church with long hair and do other things I shouldn't have done. But there is a growth. People do learn. I wish I could have been a better example in high school, and I was kind of like in both worlds where I started out writing verses on the blackboards in the the youth group meeting room or whatever it was,
Yeah,
and they didn't like it. They kind of hated me for that. All I was doing was writing verses on the blackboard. I just verses I liked. They were really nice verses, and I'm writing them and really nice writing too. It was like calligraphy and stuff like
yeah,
that.
the old school calligraphy
Yeah,
cursive that you don't see no more. Only
yeah.
when you're signing like papers and stuff.
It was really nice, and some of the people didn't like it. But
Yeah,
anyways, then so I kind of had a rebellious state, so because everybody's in a different place, but
yeah. No one's gonna be in the same walk. And I like I said, when it comes to people, when it comes to that scenario, I always preach abstinence and celibacy. Because that's only, I mean, even if you're a heterosexual or bisexual or homosexual relationship, whatever relationship you are, you should always practice abstinence and whatever the other word is,
right,
chastity. Oh, I can't say
chastity,
it. Yep, it's like the main important thing. Even I think even people in marriage should do things above all because if you lust after your wife, that's not a good thing either. Even though she is one of your flesh, you're being drawn towards flesh, and you're not supposed to. I'm one of those. You gotta shut off the earthly flesh and embrace the spirituality. You gotta prepare yourself not of this world, but of the next, of what's yet to come. Because otherwise, what's the point of becoming like a memory when you go to heaven? You're not gonna want to be in this. You're not gonna. The things that happen on the earth won't matter to you. There'll be a
oh,
fragment.
I was
A
thinking about that
figment
just
of man,
today. Where
your
nobody's going to
imagination.
even remember. Nobody's even going to remember what happened here on Earth.
Yep.
You know, it's just going to be totally new. Of course, people are going to wake up and be ashamed, according to Daniel. Some to everlasting joy and peace, and others to shame and everlasting disgrace. But as far as in heaven, for those who are in heaven, we're not even going to think about what happened here on Earth.
Ooh, I gotta talk to Richard about that. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, in Daniel, yeah, it talks about
No, yeah, yeah,
heaven
okay,
and hell.
yeah. When you're saying those get left, me and I guess Richard Masson's worldview is that there's more than one Earth and creation that God goes about. When the day of the Lord comes, he's gonna. Revelations picks up right at the beginning of Genesis, and then that time between is the day of rest for the Lord, and that's us going from one planet to the next in heaven. I know it's making it sound like sci-fi-ish, like a spaceship, and the most part probably is, but um, it's like that. But what if like the people that are left on Earth are the ones that are damned, while the new saved people go to heaven? And the thought got an idea of like, what if God already came and took those, and we are the remnant of the sinners and deceased? What if we don't have a chance of salvation, but we were thrown with this book? I don't think it would work like that, but like that would be a spooky thought, Oh, that would be a spooky thought.
Yeah,
But you know,
there's different ways to think about it because it does talk about Jerusalem coming down out of heaven, the
Hmm.
new Jerusalem coming down out of heaven. But then again, it says in Peter, it says the elements will melt like intense heat.
Yep.
But I was
I mean,
wondering,
go
I was
ahead.
wondering what Wildheart is saying here. He's concentrating on the man in the frock. I don't know what that is.
Um,
Do you know what that is?
I think he's talking about like he's the frock. I think the frock is like the robe gown to notice your hair. I don't know. I think he's saying they're. I think he's talking about they're too much concentrating on what you're wearing than your long hair. I don't know. I don't. And that I might be misinterpreting that, but I don't know. Don't ruin marriage. This one.
Actually, he's from Europe, I think, isn't he?
The UK. Yeah,
UK. Yeah, that's why we don't understand what he's saying.
it's in British. I can't read British. I'm sorry, Wildheart. Or European, I should say. I can't remember. This is British English, damn it! I don't know how to read British English.
We
I
speak
gotta do the
English.
accent.
We
Yeah,
speak American, not English.
yeah.
No.
He says the priest. Yeah. Okay, they were concentrating on the priest too much to notice your long hair.
Yeah.
I thought he was
Well,
talking about you. So okay, that's cool.
we don't have a priest actually. When we have we have a pastor, we have a choir leader, and but anyways, whatever.
It's a robe, not a dress, Wildheart. It's different.
Yeah,
He's like, they wear a dress. It's a robe.
yeah, and they don't wear a robe in most American churches that I go to.
No, they don't. They usually have the gown on. I'll call it a gown. That's fair
Yeah,
ground, I think.
the
They
gown
have.
the gown is more a traditional type of church where it'd be like Presbyterian or something like that. I
Well, I
think
think the ancient rabbis used to have the long gowns too, don't they? Or at least that's how they portray them in the movies.
it could be.
They only have like the one sheet of clothing on them or something like that, like kind of like the Roman toga, but not
Yeah,
more
in history, I
fashioned.
think they had a gown in history a lot of times. I think they
Which
had
makes me
their.
wonder though, like if pants are truly for men or if the gowns are. And it's always been one of those weird things because men used to wear skirts back in the day, and I think women wore the trousers. So I don't know if it's just flipped over the years because of the whole Western Eastern thing. And possibly, with the turn of the century, hey, these are actually a little bit more comfortable than having a cold breeze go up your leg. You
Yeah,
know,
that's hard.
especially if you're circumcised. Woo!
Well, I know in Scotland they wore kilts, but so that could be something to that. But there
Well,
was,
yeah, think about the Romans and their wear. They had the little skirt gown thing too.
I
Their military, at least I think.
I
I might
think
be
there
wrong.
was one priest that had his bedroom behind the pulpit, and when he would come out to teach, he would just put a gown on and go
Yeah,
through the
wake up
door
in the morning.
from his room to the pulpit and preach.
Maybe that's why they say wear your Sunday best is because look at this guy, he's coming to the Lord in his gown. What's
Yeah.
wrong? Put on your best clothes for the Lord. That'd
I
be
don't
funny.
know. He didn't. It didn't walk very fast. I think he was like overweight too. He didn't walk very far. Not not saying anything bad about overweight people, but that's
Oh, I'm freaking overweight.
it's
I
not
gotta
good
drop
health.
at least
It's
10 or
not
20
good.
more pounds. I'll be good. I gotta start working out my chest though. I'm starting to get man titties. I'm like,
I
oh, that's not
I
good.
actually, well, I'm getting older, but I actually ran 4 miles last week and under an hour.
Oh,
So
that's not bad. You said 4?
for yeah, well, I actually ran 20 minutes straight. This is the first time I was able to run 20 minutes straight, and then I was walking and running until I
Do you
completed the 4 miles.
do you think you could do 2 miles in 16 minutes?
2 miles and 16? No, not
Yep.
16.
That's the recruitment requirement for the U.S. Army. That's what my brother and his friend had to do. They had to run 2 miles in 16 minutes.
Oh,
And we would sit there and jog and practice, so we were able to do it.
yeah. I
But
if you work up to it, you can do it. But I
oh
mean,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know about me because I'm 60 years old, 61 years old.
Yeah, dude, at 18, it's kind of hard to believe at 18 I was able to do that crap. You know, it's like, oh,
Yeah,
it's crazy. Now I'm like, I could barely go a block without huffing and puffing.
right, right. You run
I take
5
two
minutes.
steps, little fast steps.
At first, I could hardly run 5 minutes at first.
I think it's all about breath control. That's really what it is that we gotta remember how to control our breathing when we're running.
Uh,
The more oxygen intake we got, the better it is, and yeah, the more our muscles get that air that they need. I want to see
yeah,
if running with like an oxygen mask would change anything. I was always curious, if you pump yourself full of oxygen while you're running, can you go a farther distance? Like you get like that oxygen high, you get that natural high when you're running. So
right.
if you get pure oxygen on your face into your body as you're running, I think that might do some wonders. But then again, and you
Yeah,
have weight on the back if you count the air canister if you're
yeah.
holstering like that. So it might be pretty cool
I noticed
to
there's
do
two
something like that.
things. You have to get the circulation back to what it was supposed to be, and also if you have less weight or if you lose weight, you can run farther. Obviously, um, because the weight will drag you down. A little bit of weight will hold you back. It'll make you tired,
Yeah,
worn out, real easy.
that is true. Short sprints. You ever did? Do you have like a light posts and lamps where you are at?
Actually, I run in the gym.
Oh, you're in the gym.
I don't run outside.
Well, you live
Um,
over in Brazil or something like that, right?
the treadmill. I was on a treadmill. I live in New Jersey right now,
Oh,
but
cool.
I came from Brazil.
I was gonna say yeah, because you have fucking cheaters and shit out there, but yeah, freaking the
Cheat.
street lamps. That's another way I don't know whatever's out there. Leopards. Sorry, my bad.
It's a
Cheaters and
it's a
leopards. They look
leopard.
alike.
It's a leopard that made it to South America. He's called a jaguar.
Jaguar. Was
Yeah,
it? I forget. I thought I know they're the
it's a,
same.
it's
Whatever.
a jaguar. It is
It's
the
the cat
same
with
thing,
spots. Yeah.
but the jaguar is actually bigger and stronger,
That's because he had no one to bug him. That's why.
and he has a stronger bite because he bites through alligator skulls.
Jaguar and panthers are the same thing, are they not? Right? In the
Yes,
kind of context.
yes, they
Uh,
are.
I've
The
always
Black
wanted to have
Panther.
like the black. I've always Black Panther.
But
I'm glad I have a black cat like him. He's like a little panther himself.
but then when you
So
when you
it's
get
always
into
cool.
the mountain lion is just a little bit different, I think, or maybe it's the same thing. I don't know.
They're like regular lions, just a little bit uh slinkier. The more sleek. That's the word I was looking for. They're sleeker
Yeah,
than regular African lion that you see. I think they're
yeah,
more timid too, because they tend to shy away from humans, so they're like scaredy cats. And I
yeah.
think it all depends on the your situation with them. If
Right,
you're
but
face off, or if they're in a hungry situation where they're trying to hunt, then I think
right.
it's two
If
different
they get
scenarios.
courageous, they can be dangerous if they get courageous.
Yep.
And it would be usually the male, whatever you call it, mountain lion.
Oh. But I love
Yeah,
cats. Cats are pretty cool. I didn't like it when I first grew up, but they're pretty cool.
yeah. I was raised with cats and dogs and everything.
Oh yeah,
Different pets. We raised birds and stuff too.
we tried to. Yeah, when we were younger, we tried to do the birds, and a couple of them they mostly died because we didn't know how to take care of birds. So we ended up killing them. Poor little baby birds. But we tried, it was not like we didn't know. We'd like go get it worms. We didn't know that we had to, the food needed to be regurgitated. So they'd sit there like, why aren't they eating their worm? Poor little guys. I should have chewed it up for them. What am I looking for? This down here.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I always thought it was neat. In the Bible, it says that we're allowed to raise birds.
Yeah, we're allowed to do anything we want with
It
animals, to be
actually,
honest.
but it actually there is a verse in the Old Testament. It says you're allowed to keep the baby birds and raise the baby bird. I thought that was neat.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. You find any baby out in the wild, you try to take care of it. I mean, I think that's just natural human nature. Unless you like some
Yeah,
really mean POS, then you just don't care for anything. You're miserable. I don't think
Yeah,
how anyone could do that to a small animal. I think humans naturally just have a thing for small babies and small
and to
animals.
take care of things. It's good when you're young. It's good to, take care of, creatures. Because you can't have a child yet, but you can raise baby birds and stuff.
Yeah, it's good to instill that into the children. Very good. Teach
Yeah,
them to be caretakers and
yeah, because
proper caretakers of the
it is
world.
a responsibility to take care of birds and stuff. Dogs or
Hmm.
whatever, cats.
It is, yeah. I mean, we were their overseers. It's the same thing, God gave us dominion. It's our
Yeah,
job to look out there, make sure their mouths are fed too, and make
good,
sure
right,
the earth is doing good. We're not killing it. I mean,
right.
every atheist ideology, whether they share it or not, is all contracted within the first book of the Bible. There's no escaping that fact, and they can walk around it, but it's been in the Bible, and everything that was in the Bible we can all do, whether you deny it or not. We just have to get on the same mentality of it. Everyone needs to put the things behind them and start looking for a way to move forward and actually get things done instead of bickering about who said this. Because all that small talk doesn't matter in the long run. It's never going to get anything accomplished except who's right and who's wrong. But the goal that we're all trying to strive for never gets accomplished because we're too busy getting in each other's way, trying to make sure we're doing it with God and without God. But if we both do the same thing with and without God, it's gonna get done. We may not, we can work all the finer details out later, but as long as we're moving toward the main focus, I think we're all going to get along, get a lot better. We all just have to let go of the past and all the wrongs that people have done. Just let it go and what can I do to make my community a better place today? Try to do stuff like that. I wish I lived back in a small town, not a big city anymore, because then it'd be a lot easier to get involved. But I'm
Yeah,
involved with the things that I do. I do my works and I try to do better deeds, and that's the hard part is trying to get out there and do deeds. I guess going online is a deed. Having these talks is a little bit can count as deeds,
yeah.
for the
I
most
think
part. But yeah,
I think it's important to be able to say what you need to say at the right time in the right way, and to me, that's very important. You know?
yeah, it's very yeah because you don't want to say the wrong thing and end up messing up because those first impressions often are important as well.
Yeah, well,
Oh
because we everything we say and do is based on what we believe, and when we believe the truth, then what we say and do is going to correspond with it.
yeah, definitely.
And the it actually does a lot of good when people know the truth, know what the truth is, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what the truth is, if I'm gonna be here on this earth, I want to at least try to help as many people as I can. As long as helping other people is gonna help myself become a better person. If I can't make myself a better person, they can help me become a better person. Even though I
Right.
can't make myself a better person, so now I have people to
Exactly.
rely on.
Just the mere fact of being able to talk to somebody or share with somebody something, it helps you. If you're a teacher teaching kids, it helps you just as much or more than it does the kids
Yep.
to teach, because you're learning as you're teaching, you're learning too. So even if they reject everything you say, you're still learning a lot, and it's helping you a lot.
Yeah, as long as there's not like no malice in between, because that's always the worst. Any form of hate or fear that gets involved and creeps its way in, it's gonna destroy that foundation of love and trust. It just does each and every time because the once fear and anger sets in, then comes doubt. When doubt happens, doubt's the breaking game. Now you don't know. Now you're unsure. So now you're just stuck in limbo. Like, well, can we get this done or can't we? In the long run, and that's big too. Having the doubts of whether things will work.
Yeah.
I'm talking. They don't know that I'm in here.
Is TOG here? Wild Heart must have blocked me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. If I didn't know who you were either.
Yeah, I changed the thing with Butch Cassidy because I just got. I was like, huh. I was on my mobile and I didn't have it saved in my regular StreamYards. And so I'm like, I need to come up with something on the spot. And I just had that picture. Because I have my new phone. I don't have that many memes or pictures on my phone. So
Right.
I just had that one because it's funny.
I
I just looked at him like, Butch Cassidy. And I'm just like, and I just put it in there. It
yeah.
fits.
I did the same thing with the duck picture on the front of this video. Was that I didn't have any pictures to put on. That was just a picture that I took and I just put it on there. Has nothing to
Everyone
do with
seems
the
to like it.
subject.
Yeah, the whole Butch Cassidy thing. Which I looked him up, and apparently he was like an honest thief, which is ironic because like I have a burglary record on my background, so I'm like, huh, ain't that funny? We're
Yeah.
both honest thieves, or alleged
Well,
honest thieves, I
believe
guess
it
you
or
can say
not,
for him.
some of us are not that much better, and we were spared from having a record like that. But it doesn't mean that we're all that much better. I mean,
Yeah, I got my own record on my own volition.
you know what the saying is: "There, but the grace of God, there go I." But for the grace of God.
Oh, there,
So
see, but
actually, I believe that anybody is capable of doing almost anything. It's just a matter of how they're guided by way of what they believe, and what kind of guidance they had that determines their destiny, basically,
I
you
think
know.
it's Michelle. I'm not sure. It's either Mitchell or Michelle. Sorry if I get your name wrong. Um, She says, I thought Tog was a Gnostic and not a Christian. I'm confused. And it's like, well, I'm a Gnostic in the sense that I'm a Gnostic Christian. I believe there's only one God. I believe it to be the God of the Bible. And I also believe in all the other religions to be true. And those that brought about the other religions were nothing more than the fallen angels that you read about in the book of Enoch and mentioned in Genesis, and that everyone used the same cosmology to tell the story of God, and that you can find the truth within the stars, and that's why in the Bible it's important to say, use them for signs and wonders.
Yeah, well, as I was saying, everybody's in a different place, coming from a different place.
Yeah,
And actually, we believe in one God in one way, and you have to tell the truth, or else you're lying and you're
yeah. I
not.
think if it's weird. I think it was just thrown about the ages, to be honest, and that's why there's different religion. Then finally, the truth came out when the Bible came out. God said, "Okay, you guys done enough damage and harm, you fallen angels. Now it's time for me to correct and fix your error, because everything that was happening. He had to make a new flood, and he's like, nope, I'm doing this now. Now we're gonna do it my way. Now people are gonna know the truth, so they at least have a chance at salvation." And I think that's the whole premise of it. That's why it's done. But that's why I believe it's Christian God to be true, not other gods. That if there are other gods, they're under the one God, because God Himself says, "I am a God among gods."
Yeah, because
Not that He gives them the power, like as you said in your
all
video.
power. Yeah,
All power goes to God, and it's even in the Bible. So it's
right,
it's it's there. It's stated there. No, I don't think any other religion states that. It's quite as
right,
much as the Bible does.
right. And the idea of an infinite, eternal, all-knowing, all-powerful God, that's only the Bible ever came up with that. It was the goat herders came up with that.
Yeah.
And nobody else got it right, They're the only ones that got it right, what the evidence shows.
Okay,
But
I think she's conflating with the word Gnostics. That sounds more like Zoroastrianism, and they get the term Gnostic, but the term Gnostic just means one with knowledge of the spiritual, one with spiritual knowledge. That's all it really means. Like that's verbatim the definition of Gnostic. I'm a Gnostic. I have spiritual knowledge. I'm a Christian. So that's pretty much the brunt of what I'm when I say I'm a Gnostic Christian. So I have spiritual knowledge, and that with that knowledge, that I don't view the Bible in the same context as modern day Christianity or Orthodox Christianity or any. I'm non-denominational. I guess you can say, yeah, I am my own denomination, but I wouldn't say so, because again, my path in line is to follow Jesus Christ, not myself. So anything that I get is from Him, and I try to emulate that as best as I can. I don't even want to be myself. The only reason why I gave my name this one guy, and with the capital H, is because I'm his one guy. I'm not just some dude giving out my name. Otherwise, I would have thrown out my real name out here because there's no reason to hide who I am. I have nothing to hide as a person, as a human. But I'm giving my glory to God, and that's why it's this one guy. Because it's all going back to him, not me. I don't want anything but to glorify his name. As crazy as that sounds, like
It, well, it's true that all glory goes to God, regardless
hmm
of whether we understand it or not.
I think it's funny as hell. I mean, you really think about it. Some atheists do nothing but talk about God. And that's all they talk about is God and how much they don't believe him. It's like they can't get over an ex-lover.
Well,
It's so sad sometimes.
that's because atheism doesn't have a position of its own. It only attacks other people's position.
Yeah,
It,
and then you hit them back, and they're like, ah, what? There it is again.
I think if people
Uh,
understood what atheism is or is not, I don't think anybody would be call himself an atheist because it doesn't. It's not anything. It's not a belief in anything. It's just a belief of what is not.
yeah, it's like
Like
it's an opposite. It's like it's still a belief. It's just not a belief. It's
what
still
kind
a
of
belief
belief
in
is
nothing.
that? Belief in what is not.
And you technically have to have faith, because there are other people making the claim that there is something else. So you have to go on faith that there is nothing else, even though you can use science to say whatever. It still doesn't. Science doesn't say it isn't the end game decision maker. You know, it can help lead to the truth, but then again, ultimately, I think science is just going to prove the truth even more. And it actually depends on what field of science, be honest, because there are many fields of science. So you have to go in which field of science,
Well,
which field of gnosis
what
that
would
you
you
know.
how would you compare the word science with Gnostic? Is that
I mean, the both inherited. The only difference is Gnostic is spiritual knowledge, and then science means to know. They're
to
technically
knowledge?
can go hand in foot.
Yeah, it's very similar, and we're all about knowing the truth. And
Yeah,
of course, it's all truth. It's physical truth, spiritual truth. It's all truth. It all belongs to God,
yeah.
because He made everything. He made every physical thing. No physical thing can make itself.
Unless it's self-replicating. I mean, that's kind
If
of what he
it's
did to us, but he put that within our code to do to self-replicate
right,
the
it's
way
the
we have.
code. It's the
But it's
code
not.
that,
It's not like a cell division where a cell can make a copy of a cell.
but it's
Notice
the
how that's only done within a vessel, though. It's not like we don't really see things splitting off and making into each other, do we? Only underneath the microscope within,
right.
only within us do we see that, and that's so crazy.
Yeah,
It's nature. It's a thing of nature. Self
but
replication is a thing.
it's
Yet,
all according to
yeah.
instruction. It's all according to a pre-written plan
Mm-hmm.
or blueprint. And when you make a copy of the blueprint, you're going to get a copy. You're not going to get a copy of the information that makes a bird or a dinosaur or a chip. You're going to get information. You're going to get a copy of the information to make a human.
But I think we can say that along as people like to use the analogy with cars, sometimes other parts fit with other parts. So you can get codes that will
Right,
fit the part. And see, and that's the thing. That's
right.
what you get into
Well,
genetic splicing and all that, though. So you
because
get the
that's
codes
all
that fit the part. Yeah,
right. It's all about
fill in the
proteins and stuff.
gaps.
And a lot of the
Gap theory.
proteins,
No.
a lot of the proteins are similar, but like you said, you can splice certain information for certain things that you find in animals. You can splice it into anything, and they spliced in to goats the protein to make silk.
Yeah, I
So they
heard about
make
that.
silk from goats,
I
which
heard
is
about that.
it's kind of bizarre, but it's just shows that you can cut and splice anything, which God doesn't advise you to do that.
And again, the whole saying with King Solomon, nothing is new under the sun. And I was like, well, what do you think happened with the Nephilim account? if you really look into it deep enough. And you're like, you gotta really follow the rabbit hole. And people are like, well, you're gonna find insanity down there. Well, depends on what you find, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I'm not so sure. My position would not be that the Nephilim had sex with humans, because then you would have a hybrid of angels and humans, which Christ
Well, I,
didn't. Christ can't die for angels; he died for humans. So, how can you
I,
have a
th-
hybrid that Christ dies for? Because
I
Christ
th-
has to die and pay for all sin of all mankind.
well,
Uh,
there's a key catch to that. To be honest, there's two ways to go about this. The first way I think I'll go with this one is that if when we die and we all get a resurrection, if it's all built on a circle and a cycle, and the cycle gets repeated, then when the angels come down, the angels that are in heaven and the angels that are in the past have always been us. And they always will be us because they are us and we are them. We will become angels when we go into heaven. We will be angels. You know, we're not going to be humans. We're going to be angels. And when we come down from our, how they say in Enoch, our habitation, and we come down to the earth to become watchers, who's to say that we don't come back as humans? Because now we've left the abode of God. We are free, we're able to do what we can. And so, again, sin enters us, and then we decide, hey, let's make things in our image. Let's do things the way they used to be on the old earth. Let's implement these structures that we know of. And this way you get the mass buildings, the pyramids, because, again, everyone's copying off a copy of the original thing. And so that's how it can be genetics. And again, they bring forth knowledge that they know from God, who made us in his image. So of course he's going to know how to genetically manipulate things, and they happen to have the same knowledge. They have the knowledge of making clothes and fashion and all these other things, as it's stated in Enoch. And they just happen to make. You got to remember, at the beginning of the word, there was no command to eat meat. So how do we get dinosaurs? And that would have to go with flesh-eating dinosaurs. Would have to be someone broke the commandment of God, and flesh started consuming flesh, because it was never given until after the flood that we were allowed to even have flesh, and the whole dominion and blah blah blah, all that stuff.
Yeah, we didn't eat meat until after the flood, but I think the dinosaurs did. I mean, some of the carnivores, I think they did.
Yeah,
And,
but there weren't any carnivores in mentioned in the Bible, because remember, everything wasn't allowed to have its flesh. Everyone was a vegetarian in the
well,
beginning.
yeah, before the fall, we
Before the
everything was
fall, yeah.
vegetarian.
But you got to
Every
remember, every flesh was sinful. Every
and
flesh. If everybody's starting to eat stuff and things are getting corroded and
because we're
things are happening like that, then it makes sense why he would have to wipe everything out for the
because
sake of the good or whatever.
we're talking about two different kinds of destruction. One was the fall of man. The other one was the flood. And the third one might even be the separation, the division of the continents, which was another catastrophe.
I think that happened around the same time of the floods. I think it were like at the time it was made, everything was just like a big Pangea, to be honest. And then God divided the lands, maybe into 12 nations,
Yeah,
maybe just
I'm
to
I'm
say,
more
but
of the persuasion that it broke up 100 years after the global flood, when it says the Earth was divided,
it would
and
make sense. I mean, you have all this water and pressure going somewhere. Where's it supposed to go? And it's gonna divide the lands up, and then it's just gonna
and
go back
and
in
of
with
course
inside itself.
the lands would become brittle too when they hardened about 100 years after the flood. It become brittle, but I think also it had some help from an asteroid or something too.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, we got the impact craters on the Earth. I mean, and think about it. God brings hailfire down to the Earth. Who's to say it wasn't a meteor? I mean, he did it to Sodom and
And
Gomorrah.
And
It
it could
makes
have
more
been
sense.
like the same kind of thing that caused the flood in the first place could have broke the continents apart 100 years later,
hmm
for that
I
matter.
forgot the second point that I was gonna make. I'm trying to remember it back because I know I went on that long tangent there. And I don't even remember what it was in the beginning that we were talking about. Something to do with Nephilim and how it was involved. But I forgot the second point that I was gonna make. I should have made the second one first. But yeah, I think it goes along the lines of oh yeah, and I guess in the book of Enoch it says, they the Nephilim inquire about their salvation as well, because remember, they get cast down, they get judgment the moment God intervenes or whatever, and he finds out. They get cats down to the Tartarus, the pit, the bottomless pit, and so they ask, well, you're gonna go down the lake of fire, and then God pretty much says, you better hope and pray that the humans have mercy and forgiveness on you, because you know what, your faith lies within their hands. So it goes something along those lines, and it makes sense if prior humans, if they were fallible, fallible just like us, is it wrong to have them start the grounds for leading us into turmoil and sin and whatever, and having us to cause the great flood and all that jazz? Then I think it would be appropriate to forgive them for such.
To
But
forgive
it
the
could also,
Nephilim.
it could also be celestial too, and it could be talking about celestial bodies as well, the Nephilim, and it could just be telling stories from the stars
I
as well.
I understand it to mean that the sons of God were the descendants of Seth. I would think, but I'm not sure about that. But that's what I tend to think because really see I don't really see angels coming down and having relations with people because of the fact that the sacrifice of the blood of Jesus is for descendants of Adam. So I don't see how it's
I think,
because Jesus is the seed of the woman who was taken out of Adam.
well, I guess you would have to remember that it's still half a human, so
So
would it still count for half a,
so the seed of
is it
the
half and
woman. So
whole, you know?
Jesus can only cover the sin of mankind. He can't cover the sin of a half breed angel, mankind, or whatever. But those are some frightening thoughts that you have in there. I don't know. No, but I've heard it before. I just don't I don't follow that line of reasoning.
Oh, you don't have to, but like I said, they didn't even have to impregnate them. They couldn't inseminate them to have physical relationship. They could have just taken a part of their genetic code and then placed it within
Yeah.
human Semitic. Hey, you
And
have this wife, like they do it nowadays with a surrogate, and they could have just had a surrogate and just put their own information into the surrogate, and it's done that way.
and
It doesn't even have to be sex involved
yeah,
nowadays.
and regardless of what it was, they were like they said, a couple of times. They were all killed they're all wiped out in the global flood anyway. So whatever it was, they're all
Oh yeah,
gone.
see, their flesh was wiped out, but not the spirit. The spirit still endured to plague mankind, and they
So
would
they'd be
become
like
known to be demons and evil spirits and ghosts and such as things
they'd
like
be
this.
the liars that people listen to.
Yeah, the evil spirits, the demons that we see among us. That's who the Nephilim
Yeah.
are, in the sense.
Well, they sometimes embody people, basically, and become the people become liars because they become like a devil, basically, you know, and they have the same punishment as the devil too.
Yep. But that just goes back, like, do they get cast off on just this earth as it's dying, or do they get to, like, because again, if the earth is folly and all the water gets pulled off the earth, like if it all evaporates, then obviously there's going to be some major lava flow, and the earth's going to be just going hectic with volcanic activity. So would that not be like a lake of fire if you have long rivers of lava, or lakes of piles of lava? Just, that's a lake of fire. What I'm trying to say, and it's just everywhere. And so they get left behind, so to speak. It goes with the whole thing. If they get left behind while we ascend into the outer and greater.
Yeah. Um, but there are some things that happened before the flood that we don't know about, but that were pretty bad. You know, when when it says they were married and given in marriage and stuff, eating and drinking, I think there was a little bit more to it than that. It was a little bit more involved as far as what people were doing. They could have been doing all kinds of strange things. Of course, we
Well, to
can't
be honest,
speculate either.
we can speculate as far. Like I like to think that there weren't any children involved in all that. They reached a point to where it was mortality. They made a heaven on earth, to where it was like the ancient elves. You could never die because they knew how to make it to where we couldn't die. We would last indefinitely because they had the knowledge to do so.
Yeah,
So
because
there wasn't any needs to have any children back then. Again,
there,
now
there's
you
so
have all
many
these
things.
creatures, as I said before, doing all the attacking and all that, going flesh after flesh instead of abiding by the rules. They're starting to live for themselves and not under God. They forgot the God because now we own the place. God isn't. God's still in heaven. We got it. We can do what
Uh,
we want.
there's so many
Who's gonna
things that you
stop
could
us?
speculate on. You could speculate on genetic modification. You can speculate on a whole range of things that they were doing, but it wasn't good. But they're all gone now.
If only we had the imperial evidence. I mean, you can look in other books that kind of say this. I think the book of Jasper or whatever the heck
Jasher,
it's Jasher. Yeah, I always mess it up. The book of
yeah,
Jasher and Enoch kind of correlate with the same thing, and
yeah. It's
you can
really
just tuck them
amazing.
away. You
It's
can
really
tuck them away in
amazing.
Genesis, really,
The book of Jasher talks about the animals screaming for their
for
life,
God.
or
Yeah, for
screaming
God,
for help or something. They
and
thought they were.
that's why they have the fear of man and within inside of them. Because it was because of that situation. Because like, look what you made us go through. These horror
The animals were all afraid for their
and
life. It's like saying the animals were afraid for their life, and everybody else was too.
And
And
another important factor is it also claims that when the lions and stuff comes, they came as cubs and left the adult lioness, and she went back to the pride. So every animal that came to the ark, by that line in whatever it's called, shows that there were babies on Noah's ark and not full grown animals, which
yeah,
I find interesting as well. Because then
yeah.
it kind of proves some people's theories out there of what happened on the ark and all the space and all that. How could you, if they're children, of course it's gonna go on the.
Well, I think that life was a lot more resistant to famine and things like that because they, I don't know, they just seemed like they were so much more fit or stronger health
Mm-hmm.
wise.
I mean, if you think about it, think of all the decaying and dead that's just lying about when these creatures come out. They just got done. They're gonna be some waterlogged dead bodies, and that's where your diseases come from the past corpse of the damned, if you will. The Nephilim, if there were there, that's probably why the disease came from. Was from there. The rotting corpses coming from the gases off the corpses. I guess I don't know. I know it sounds silly, but it's just again a hypotenuse. It can't tell none.
It's just basically chemicals.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Because
Well,
it's
just a
all
bunch of chemicals.
it's
Chemicals.
not it's not DNA anymore. It's not in any
And you
order.
know what the fun fact about chemicals? Didn't God say He made us from the dust? What did a bunch of dust look like in the palm of your hand? Nothing
It's
but chemicals.
chemicals. Yeah,
Chemicals is dust. Again, proving the Bible.
yeah,
Wonderful things.
yeah. And it doesn't actually say the dirt, even though Adam is named
No, it
dirt.
does not. Yeah, it
But it
says dust.
but yeah, the dust is chemical. Chemicals are dust. And of course, when we die, we're reduced to dust again. So that's
Yes.
chemicals. So I'm
Oh,
getting behind in these things here.
the live streams of the side chats.
Wouldn't be covering the land. What wouldn't be covering the land? There was plenty of water. They're arguing about the water here.
I
The
think so.
water from
Yeah.
the flood is still here. It's in the deep ocean. The ocean just opened up and accommodated the water and allowed for the land to rise. And you notice there's no sediment layers in the deep oceans. The sediment layers are on land. So that's how we know the sediment layers that were in the ocean got subducted. In the process, it sank down to accommodate the water.
I've been looking into the zodiac signs into Genesis and like the placement of them because it goes from I was talking about this last night with Richard Mansion on his live stream with Genesis, the beginning or the start of the end, the beginning of the end or whatever it was. His title is I forgot, but I was talking to him about how if we look at the astrological signs and their placements and think back to where which one comes first, because remember it goes from left to right, I believe. I think that no, right to left it goes in a circular motion, so it's like counterclockwise, not clockwise. That's how the pattern goes. So I think if what we said, if you start from Capricorn, and by the time you get to like the sixth day, it becomes you get to Genesis, or not the sixth day becomes Gemini, and what does
Yeah.
Gemini has of representation too? The twins. And if Adam came from the Eve of rib, like
I
does that
think
not make
I
sense?
think I heard something like that before.
I think I know I thought about it. I think it's a little far fetched, but it's still pretty a nice and interesting thing to throw in there. Cause I haven't done. I just again just thoughts in the head that I'm having as I'm growing deeper in the faith, and I'm trying to include the more astrological signs because I'm like there have to be up there. There has to be more than one sign, and so I'm starting to put it a lot in context
because we
than
really
anything
don't
else.
know. We don't really don't know how they used to think back in the day of when they were, studying the stars and stuff like that.
Yeah, I heard. Apparently I've looked at videos to where they said that some of the colors of the in Revelations of the like the stones and all that of the 12 tribes of Israel, the stones, the breastplate, that they were colors in the sky where the constellations were, and that was how it looked like all surrounding. Because you got to remember, there was no pollution of false light to hide the truth, and that's important. There was no pollution of false light to hide the truth. Everything was unveiled. And then the
Yeah,
veil closed when technology came. Isn't that crazy? The
yeah.
veil shut. The turn of the modern when Jesus died. Turn of the
Well,
century.
Wildhard just said something interesting. He said the theists believe we came from dust. Atheists think we came from rocks. Not much different.
Yeah, I said that
And
yesterday too.
the difference would be that we give the glory to the creator of the rocks, and the atheists give the glory to the rocks.
Yeah, the rocks are Paul, not Jesus. That's why I made a meme like that. Christians tend to worship Paul more than they do Jesus, because I kind of got something like that on Jesus as the Lord. I'm like, nah, man, I'm purely a Jesus fanboy. Paul's cool. He's a nice brother, but Jesus is no. I'm on. I totally get with Jesus. Paul's cool. Don't get me wrong. I love Paul,
uh,
but Jesus
Paul
get something about
and
Jesus.
and the other writers too. They're pretty deep. They're
Yes, they
pretty
do.
deep.
They're
It's
all
like
loving brothers. They're all help us in our walk. That's why God chose them
because
to help us in His walk.
for them to say that God is able to make all grace abound towards you, so that you always having all sufficiency in all things may abound to every good deed. They were they were in the know. You
Yep.
know,
They had gnosis.
yeah, they and of course Paul was a Pharisee too, and they were saying your learning is making you mad. Your great learning.
Which is true. Because God says, you get too much information. You're going to sound insane. You're going to sound crazy. You're going to start believing you're crazy. Like, I do that all the time when I come out and I say this stuff. I feel like people are going to think I'm literally insane, that I'm some cuckoo nutcase, and that I cling on to Jesus because of whatever reasons in my life. Instead of, no, I just believe in God and I just want to really worship God and love Him. It's nothing else. And it's like, I hate that feeling of that because it's that worry, which I shouldn't have, but it's still there.
Yeah, well, I I used to fear being excluded. At least to us a little bit when I was younger, and then after a while, you just have to have confidence in the Lord. You have confidence in God, regardless of what other people think of you, and
Yeah,
because He He's the one who chose us to walk in His way, and He's the one that what He starts, He's going to finish.
I think so. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what anyone thinks about you. But that's another thing. I got a lot of things that I can tell, but I really can't tell everything about my past. I mean, not that I was a bad person. I wasn't a bad person,
You
but
were
I
a
just
gangster mobster. I know it.
no,
Totally a gangster mobster.
no, I wasn't. But I did walk through Humboldt Park. If you know where Humboldt
Oh
Park is
hell
in
yeah, dude! I
Chicago,
grew up there. Yeah, dude, you're talking about it's my heart there, bro. I grew up in that area.
Humboldt Park, and I walked through there like 2 or 3 in the morning, and the Mexicans. I guess they're Mexican. There's a lot of Mexicans.
Puerto Ricans now over there,
Oh, not as
actually, I
Puerto
think.
Ricans. Well,
Puerto Rican.
yeah, they had Puerto Rican Day Parade too,
Yeah,
but
it's like that one side on California almost right there,
the yeah,
or
that
wherever it's
could be.
at.
But there was a lot of Mexicans I know, and they said it's going to be a lonely night for you. I just kept on walking. I don't know what they meant by that, but anyway, yeah. And I was a student at Moody, and I went to Cabrini Green, not Cabrini Green, but I had students from Cabrini Green that we teaching the Bible to, or places maybe not Cabrini Green, but places like that. Projects.
Hmm. Yeah, I live south of there, right off of Belden. It was
Yeah.
nice. We used to ride our bikes over through Humboldt all the time.
And there was
Remember
one
when I was
time
younger, there used to be like a cannibal in the Humboldt Park or something like that. I remember reading something about that, about like some
a
cannibal in the Humboldt
cannibal.
Park. Yeah, something like that. Some cannibal or
But
something like that. Like they found a body or something like that, and
yeah,
it was like eaten. There's a ditch
because
there.
I was walking through there one time, and one of the kids recognized me, and they yelled out to me and said hi. So I said hi.
There was actually a crocodile or an alligator living in the Humboldt Park recently. It was pretty cool. Someone threw an alligator or crocodile right in the little pond area.
Yeah,
People were
in
freaking out like, "Is that an
Chicago.
alligator?" Yeah, in Chicago. It was hilarious. He was on. I think they named him Chompy.
Oh yeah. I just remember they had there was Mr. G's hamburger place, and he made some good hamburgers, and they
Oh,
had some
dude.
good deep dish.
Nah. Did you ever go by? Where is it at? There was Jack's hot dog stands. There was I forget what the.
I was there like a long time ago, so I don't know.
I might have been there. Yeah, this
It
place.
was
Well, it's always been there.
it was
It's time over there.
actually in '81 maybe, or '80s, 80, 1980. That's when I was there at Moody, around about that time. But
Yep.
we used to do witnessing in the Loop. That's downtown Chicago,
Yep.
and then we had Bible studies up in what's the name of the place? The Jewish towns up north.
Um. Oh, I forget. I want to say Uptowner, but that's not right.
It was north of Chicago, and it would be like start with a K.
No idea.
So we had a Jews for Jesus Bible study up there, and we had an olive tree congregation too. It's probably still there, I think.
Oh yeah,
And
I clean up a church over there now in the city. I don't go out. I live in the suburbs now, but yeah, I clean a church out that way. It's called like New Life. It's a
that's
nice,
when I
decent
first
social.
started going to Messianic congregations.
It's on the one I go to is on Damon Street, and it's like right off of 90, 94, 90, 90th. Dan Ryan or whatever. Now the Jane Ryan or whatever the hell it's called. They changed the name to a woman's name or some crap. It's just confusing. Like, why'd you change the name of the road? For equality.
Yeah,
Like now I don't know if I'm going down the right road or not.
trying to keep up with the chat here.
Yeah, I think they're talking.
Chutzpah. Who's got chutzpah? At least.
Oh, all right, but I'm gonna get going. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, I gotta take a nap pretty soon.
All right. See you later, Jungle Jargon.
I see. Well, in review, I think I'll just mention the book again. I put it in the description. It's about us being bought or us being made and lost and bought back. And it's the story of God's love for us. Yeah, it was a Jewish town. It's north of Chicago. I can't even remember it. I should be able to look on a map. Oh, where's the map? Find the map here. It's see if it starts with a K. It's no. Milwaukee. No, it's Northbrook, Highland Park. I don't see it yet. Zion. Wow, this is crazy. Evanston. Skokie. That's the name of the city, Skokie. Skokie, Illinois. It's in that area. Niles. That's where we had the Bible study. Anyway, I'll see you, buddy. See you, Wild Heart, and everyone. So I was just kind of had a flashback of a long, long, long time ago when I was a kid, and I read a book about the guy that lost a sailboat. He made a sailboat, then lost it, then had to buy it back. And it's a picture of God's love for us.